Hello, everyone. I'm Rafael from NoBugs Project, and as you know, I help Java developers use better programming practices to work on a stress-free project and uh, have no have fewer bugs. And with me, have a special guest. It's Vivek. He's a Java developer, and he's helping me out on Oracle Dev Gym, creating challenges, and he's passionate about sharing techniques for clean code and good programming practice. So say hi to everyone, Vivek.
Hello, everyone.
Um, so um, I can see some people here. I can see uh, Ato, Abhishek, Ravi. Um, yeah, and you're very welcome to the webinar. And if you have questions, please write on the chat um, so that we can discuss your problems. Um, and so, Vivek, could you share with us your challenge?
Yeah, sure.
What problems you are having in the company you are working now?
Sure. So, thanks a lot, Rafael, to give me this opportunity to share my ideas and the problem which I'm facing in my project. And definitely, this will help everyone's in Java community to make project so much cleaner and every developer's life so easy. So the biggest challenge we face in projects like there's no coding standards we follow. So whenever the project starts, everyone talk about like we'll follow that standard, we'll adhere to that standard. But as the project grows, so people forget about the standards and me to try to deliver the requirements. So that is the biggest challenge with us whenever the project grows. So people forget about the standards.
Yes, so it's a big problem because it's not only about code; it's about people. So it's very tricky sometimes. Um, I mean, how to make people get interested in creating better code and have coding standard. So, well, I think
Oh,
it's maybe a matter of communication and saying that, okay, let's follow this pattern, and I don't know, maybe putting a code review too,
yeah.
um, and then make developers aware that, okay, this is the pattern, let's follow this pattern. Um, and one thing that we do in the company I'm working for now, it's a meeting called Technical Catch Up. So we
Yep.
do this meeting once a week or twice a week, and all developers are in this meeting. And basically, we discuss what are the patterns that we should apply, and we create some topics in a page. It's like a central page. We use a system called Confluence, so I can um, write on the chat here for you.
Yep.
Um, and we basically write down all the issues before going to the catch up. And then, for example, oh, if there's no coding standards, we're going to discuss what's the best. And then um, we decide um, between all developers. What's your opinion about it, Vivek?
Yeah, so you are very much correct. Like what I feel, there should be a peer review for that. Like there should be some coding tools, some static code analyzer, which will definitely help everyone's in team to come on a common platform and to have a clean code. And second thing is definitely about the mindset. If we have a nice people in a team who have a same mindset about writing a clean code and leaving the mean clean, whenever they're checking the code, there's a some scout rule I have heard. Whenever you checking the code, make it more cleaner than before. So this kind of mindset, if we have in team, so definitely the project grows very well, and there would be less chance of defect, and the maintenance of the project would be very helpful.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with you, Vivek. So we have some questions here from Ravi. His biggest problem is dealing with poorly written code and no tests written. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's challenging. Well, I think it's a problem. It's a culture problem. So culture
yeah,
problem is the most difficult thing to solve in a project because we need to change the mindset of developers. So it's something that will be changed. For example, with something very simple we can do is to start sharing our knowledge in the company we are working for. So if we have this knowledge of how to apply better programming practices, we can create a culture of having one knowledge transfer session a week, and then we share what we know, and not only us. So I think in order to make it work, you have to involve everyone in the team and um, incentivize them to share their knowledge as well. So um, when they are studying something, and when they have to share something to others, they will probably do it. Um, they will really study it, and they really understand it, why it's important, and then they will feel motivated and they will be changed. I mean, it takes some time, but this simple action of starting sharing your knowledge in your company, it's great for you and it's great for the whole team. So you would be a very valuable person for the project you are working for. And also you would improve in your career because it's very important for us to um, have these public speaking skills. I mean, you can start in your company and then you can go to a jug and give your talks and um, share your ideas. And then you would be a very valuable person to the Java community. So when you start sharing, you benefit everyone in your company. So it's a suggestion. Try to start doing that. Um, Schedule a knowledge transfer session next week. Tell all your coworkers and share your ideas. Share why um, write good code is important. So it's not a fancy thing that just developers will get benefit. It's for everyone. It's so everyone will get benefit about it. So yeah. Do you have any other questions? If not, Vivek, can you share other problems you are having?
yeah. So the second biggest challenge we face in our projects is like estimations are not correct, and because of that, developers has to stretch out and they have to work so late in night, and even they have to work on a weekends to meet that requirements. So that is another challenge in from that estimation side, which we face a lot.
Well, this is a very tough one. So
Yeah.
this is a high level problem that it's only solved with people skills. Yeah. So good code, as I say, it goes beyond code, goes far beyond.
Yep.
So if we don't have these people skills of For example, knowing how to negotiate with your manager, knowing how to talk and how to convince them, we are gonna be impacted for this as well, because if the project was negotiated with a short deadline, there's nothing you can do, because um, it's decided already. But what if you can talk to your manager and try to convince him um, to just create a more suitable deadline. I mean, you can create um, you can create a presentation on PowerPoint, and then you can share all the money that the company is losing, because we know that short deadlines bring bad quality in projects. So what's the point? Actually, they think they are doing the best.
Mhm.
So we have to try to go in their world and say, okay, try to not to be technical talking to them, because if you are too technical, you are going to bring him to a place where you are king, and they don't want that, because they will feel kind of stupid, because you have the knowledge, you have the technical knowledge, and he doesn't have. So when you are talking to a business person or a manager or someone like this that don't have a very strong technical knowledge, try to be more, try to talk it in not in a technical perspective, but try to uh, talk to them in a perspective that that will make sense for them. For example, I think for managers, what makes sense is to deliver the project with more quality, and they don't want stress for them as well. They want something better. They want um, a reliable project. They want the customer happy. They want who is above them to like their work. And so I think it's, well, it's a skill. It's not something that you develop overnight.
Definitely.
It's something that you have to practice. There are
Mhm.
several books about negotiation, about how to deal with people, and we have to do this role. We can't just be passive and accept everything that's happening. Um, so convince developers, bring them to your side, and go to the negotiation. Talk to your manager, convince him, and make open his eyes, because sometimes he thinks he's doing the best, but he's not. So what happens sometimes is that a war is created between developers and managers, and that's a trap.
Yep.
Because if the war begins, it's it's like one hating each other, and the project doesn't go well. So what we have to do is try to bring the manager by our side instead of creating a war, and try to bring developers at your side as well. And then you start with this culture, you change, you share your knowledge, and then when you do this, you are becoming, the first thing, you are becoming you are going to become a specialist in whatever you are sharing, and you are going to be very valuable to the company. So yeah, I think that's it for this question.
Yep.
We have another challenge here
From
from
Ashutosh.
Ashutosh. Yeah, thanks, Vivek. So sometimes I really face the confusion when we should go for Makito exactly, because suppose you are mocking anything, uh, it means we are not executing that code. Yeah, yeah, Ashutosh, it's not so straightforward um, testing, but
So let me explain his question. So actually, Ashutosh is one of my friend. Hi, Ashutosh. So what is his problem is like in their project they are using Mockito to test the functionality. So he is getting confused about if we are mocking our functionality. So what how we are testing it? I mean, at the one end we are mocking it, and we are not doing the exact testing because we are using the mocked object. So I think Ashutosh want to have some clarification on that.
hmm, okay. So yeah, I would recommend Ashutosh to run some tests with Mockito. Let me see. Uh, and actually, I maybe try to go in the a bit deeper in the test concepts and um,
So maybe
no,
we can
I
have
think
another session on the test cases. That would be
yeah,
helpful for him in
yeah,
future.
Vivek, it's just I think it's a clue for you. Make this knowledge sharing in your company.
Yeah,
Do yeah, explain why tests are important and do a session there. Make a session.
sure,
It's
sure,
your mission.
sure.
Yeah,
So
do a knowledge transfer and yeah, explain um, how you use mocks and why you are testing, and yeah, I think it would be useful.
yeah,
So can you share another challenge, Vivek?
yeah. So another challenge is going to be very much interesting for everyone. So this is about the ego issues in team and also the personal interest. So there are some situations like if you are doing a code review and if you are giving us some code review suggestions to someone or any kind of suggestion to your team. So people does not welcome their suggestions. So that is, I mean, another problem which we face a lot.
So you mean that developers don't welcome your suggestion to the code?
Yeah, I mean, I have seen couple of I mean projects and their uh, I mean communication gap between or the relationship between the developers uh, compromises the code. So ultimately, the code gets I mean, what should I say? That doesn't get reviewed properly or I mean, because of that, two people, one is the reviewer and another one who's doing whose code is getting reviewed. If does not have a good relationship between them, so code gets hampered because of that. So some kind of situations I have seen in some of the projects.
Okay, so that's it's
Rafal,
a bit so uh,
Rafal, we are not able to. Rafal, we are not able to hear your audio. No, everyone is getting dropped. So, guys, I think Rafael is going to restart this session. So please be available for that. Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
No, no, Rafael. We are getting your voice, but it's not understandable. So if
How to know?
anyone else is facing problem, please put in chat. Yes.
Can- Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, Rafael, it's fine. It's fine. Go ahead, please.
Okay, sorry about that. Um, yeah, so you were talking about code review that developers don't accept very well suggestions. They feel kind of um,
So you
how can
understand the situation, like we have a seniority juniority in teams, right? Some developer is senior, but sometimes it's like junior is giving a very nice suggestions to seniors. So I have seen couple of projects where senior does not accept the suggestion given by the junior member in team. So this kind of situations I have seen. So that's what I want to give attention to that.
yeah. Well, I think everyone can learn from everyone. So even if a junior or maybe an intern has something to share with you, sometimes they see something that you didn't see, and then the same way they learn from you, you can learn from them as well. So I think it's the key here is to be humble. I know it's very difficult for developers to be humble, but
I
when you
think
are
the main,
humble,
I have a one suggestion here actually how I have deal this problem. So first gain a trust from your team, like what I recommend to my friends. So gain a trust in your team, then put your suggestions. So that is the key, and like you have just mentioned, be humble. So these kind of things we should do in our projects whenever we are giving some suggestions.
exactly. So one thing that is is also true for us developers that code is our pride. So if someone goes in your code and say, "Oh, that's crap," you would like it? No, of course not. You would feel really, um, really, how can I say? Your proud would be just hurt. So you would be really defensive and you wouldn't accept anything, any suggestion, because it's your code, it's what you developed, it's your pride. So one thing is that when we make code reviews, we have to be um, try to understand the point of view of the other developer, try to be gentle, try to not say it in a harsh way, say, "Oh, this is shit and I can't understand anything." What I mean, there are developers that are really harsh and they really end um, with the other developers' pride. So when this happens, automatically a war is started. So the developer that received this harsh comment will be willing to do the same with the other developer, and then the other developer will be more angry, and then it will become an infinite cycle. So we have to do our role, that is basically to give comments in a way that is understandable and not offending the other developer. It's about motivating them to create a better code and not to crush them. So um, but as well, there are the other thing that you said, Vivek, that senior doesn't accept junior suggestion. So for this problem, I think it's just a matter of not just because it's maybe it's culture, um, kind of cultural problems, and also ego, because sometimes the senior developer think that just because a junior or less experienced developer is giving him a tip, they would be obsolete. So it's kind of a defensive behavior as well. So maybe it's just a matter of changing the mindset and just realize that we learn from everyone. So just it's a way to think, just to change this. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah, Rafael, we got the idea. Thanks for that. So
yeah.
let's have another question from, I think Atul has posted some question. So can you address it?
So what's well, I have several questions here. Uh, so we face mostly some exception and other issues. I think there should be peer-to-peer
Before
connection.
before to this, like this question starts from the we are facing mostly confusion in project workflow. Mainly we develop particular requirement, but we don't understand proper functional flow. So it's about like knowing the external system and the proper flow of the project. So knowing the whole system is very much important. I think these questions belong to that area.
Okay, so it's basically, yeah, about business, right?
About knowing the whole project source code plus external APIs, which is being consumed in the current project, and like infrastructure related, like database, and if another API is being used and another project is getting involved, and if your project is pushing data to some different system and consuming data from another system. So, so it's about the workflow of the whole project, how systems work.
Hmm. So, well, one thing that I used in the previous project I was working for was a weak page saying in a simple way what was the flow of the project, um, and explaining what dependency the project had with other systems. I think we can't be overwhelmed with a lot of documents, a lot of things. We have to just understand the main flow, the main thing that's happening, the main picture. I mean, to understand the product in a macro way, in a perspective that you see what's the purpose of the project, and then just go deep in the things that you really need. Otherwise, it's very difficult because business requirements are complex sometimes. So it's so we have to um, if we can have this culture of writing down the business in a central page and in a simple way that new developers can understand, I think it's a good practice because it the understanding of the project will be clear for everyone.
Yeah, Rafael. So this leads to another question which I have. So not having the functional documents and the technical documents in projects. So that is another pain area which developers face a lot. So there are no HLD and high level design documents, low level design documents, and that class diagram, and these kind of documents. Sometimes the projects lack because of the time or because of just not having them. So that is another problem area.
So it's about functional. Can you say?
Yeah, sure. So it's like lacking technical documents in project, having the project technical architectural diagram. So like class diagram, sometimes project does not have a class diagram, sometimes the UML diagram basically.
Okay. So do you think it's necessary to have this diagram?
Um, I believe so, because if we have this kind of diagram, so we can give knowledge transfer to someone in a team to understand the whole picture of your project, that what are the components involved in your project, where uh, and where are the improvement area and how the code flows. So I believe that it's important, but please share your comments on that. So that would be very helpful for us.
Okay. So in my opinion, it's not that necessary because sometimes UML diagrams are very confusing because I mean, depending on the complexity of your project, there would be thousands of classes. And for a developer that's coming, a new developer that's coming to your project, and if he's analyzing this diagram, it will be very confusing. So maybe it's better to analyze directly the code um, instead of analyzing the UML diagram. But I think as well that the code is also very complex when you are new to a project. So I would suggest to, instead of having an UML diagram, to create a high level flow of the business. So for example, have your core business, and then this core business is connected to the other one. I don't know, some other financial project, and then you do a simple flow, a simple diagram explaining what's the purpose of the business, um, what project your project is depending on, and what is the purpose of each one of them. And if your project has modules, just put a brief explanation about the modules, because I think it's difficult to get the whole picture of a project having tons of documents, tons of things, a million of classes. I think it becomes really, really complex, and it shouldn't be. We should have the whole picture of the project and understand what's the purpose of each one. And then things are clear. Because once you need to go deep in a project, then you get the tons of documents or whatever it's necessary. But UML with every classes, I think it's very complex. Because I don't know how is your project, but in the project I was working for, in the last project I was working for, we used to create UML diagrams, and they were completely useless. Nobody used it. We were creating it just to generate numbers. So
Okay.
it was some documents that were there, and nobody was using it. So I prefer to create things in a more simple and effective way. So imagine the work you would have to create the UML of the whole project. You would have an insane amount of work to do that, and you would have a very low value. Instead, try to create something that's meaningful and effective and simpler. That you see, oh, okay, so my project is depending on those other projects, and okay, I get the whole picture. That's my opinion about it. What do you think, Vivek?
Yeah, so we are very much agree on this. So I believe like code should be written in such a way that it should uh, tell whole story about the project. So definitely that code should be the first document to give someone's the good knowledge about the project. So I think that's a good question which we have discussed.
Yes. So also the code should be straightforward. Yeah, I agree with you. The less repetition, the better. The clear the standard of the code, the better. So if you have documented uh, the structure of your project, for example, from the front end, then go to the controller, and then has the resource layer or whatever, then the service and the DAO, and then you document everything like this, and you show to a new developer or to developers that are on your team, and then you define a pattern, something that is effective as well and not repetitive and as simple as possible, because we developers have to focus on the business, solving business problems, and not in the code. The code should be just um, a transcription, so a solution to your business problem.
Yep. Yeah. So do we have another questions? I think no. So I will have my another question. So it's about the legacy code. So sometime like I have seen that in couple of projects, so people try to use the legacy things in project, like the very much common pattern which I have seen using the iterators instead of using the for each loop, or even yeah, like that. So your comments on that, like how we can remove the legacy code from the projects and upgrade our projects into the newer versions of that functionality or features.
So yeah, in my opinion, think well, the code has the code unit tests. Vivek.
Yep.
uh, so if the code has unit tests, it's easier because you can just change the code and then you run the test, and if it passes, that's fine.
Okay. Okay.
So but if it doesn't have tests, that's a problem. um, there
And
is
this questions is about like knowing the APIs. Actually, if I have learned something in 5 years back, and I'm not upgrading myself to latest APIs in Java, so I will write those things in project only, like the legacy things, or that let's suppose in my project I'm using Java 8, JDK 8, and still I'm not getting benefit with the JDK 8 features. So that kind of problem I'm trying to address here.
okay, so you mean um,
So let me
so
explain. Let me try to. You got the question?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think there are some things involved. First thing is that maybe developers are not used to the JDK 8, and um, maybe it's not so clear how to convert things that was written in Java 7 to Java 8. So maybe lack of knowledge is a problem, can be a problem.
Yep. Yep.
And another problem is that you might be insecure to change the code
Yeah,
uh,
that is also very much important. Yes.
because so you said to me that not all classes are covered by tests, right?
Yes. Yes. So because of not having the JUnit test cases, we cannot refactor the code also, and developers have a fear to change the code. So it's very much correct. Yeah.
Oh, so do you think you can write unit tests to the code you have now?
Yes, I can write, but again, need to get some extra time for those things, because if we are working on a feature, so that is the additional thing. We have to put the extra effort for that. So that that is another problem.
Hmm. So it goes down again to the negotiation.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, in the project I'm working for now, it's very difficult as well to negotiate refactoring. Um, it's very difficult to convince people to do that, but I think it's a matter of having a lot of patience and repeating it several times, saying that it's important to refactor, and then eventually they will understand that it's necessary.
yes.
And
So,
sometimes we need to be kind of heroes as well. I don't recommend to do that, but um, sometimes we
you have
have
to
to.
when you want to be a hero.
Sorry,
You have, so what I believe, like you have to decide when you want to be the hero in your team.
it's kind of complicated when you decide to be a hero because if something goes wrong, you will be blamed. For example, I say to be a hero it in the sense of getting the tasks you have and refactor as well. So it's
Yep.
like accepting a deadline that's not easy. I mean, getting your normal tasks and doing the refactoring along with that. So you put yourself in risk.
Yep.
So you should do that just in critical situations.
Yep.
So sometimes complicated. You could as well to get less tasks, less complexity, and then you can refactor some things. So, but of course, the most effective way is negotiating and saying and being clear. Okay, we have this problem, this problem, this problem. We are going through stress here, and we need a solution. I mean, you come with with a proposal, with you come with a plan, and then try to convince them. And sometimes have to be patient.
Yep. So I think I have, and like I the list is finished from the questions. So and there's no more question from my side actually. So, uh, but still, like I would like to know, like, what is your suggestions for do's and don'ts in project, and for improving the knowledge, and some good resources and some books, which we should read actually to enhance the code quality and having developers life easy.
Yeah, so I will recommend maybe very obvious for you all, but if you read Clean Code, it's good to read it again because there are a lot of amazing tips there that really change your way to code. It teaches you why testing is important, why your names, the method names, class names, variable names are important.
Yeah.
It educates you um, to understand why a clean code is important.
Yep.
Because we don't code for just to work. It's not enough. It's far from that. You can write whatever you want to the machine, and the machine will understand. We code for other developers.
Yep.
So our code has to be clear to other developers. So if you read your code and you have to imagine, okay, so if other developer is going to read my code, he's going to understand that. If the answer is not, there is something that you have to improve in your code.
Yep.
So I think it's a matter of organizing your code, applying the single responsibility concept. So if your method is doing more than one thing, there's something wrong. If
Yep.
your class has several responsibilities, there's something wrong. So for example, if you have a service class that insert data, delete data, update something, and if there is a file logic, a giant big method with file logics, that makes no sense. You should extract all these file logic to a class that's responsible for just doing that. And then you inject this class inside the service, and then you separate responsibilities. So you make one class specialized in just one thing. And the same thing is to methods. And variable names have to be clear. So yeah, it's
So
clean
it's
code
more
is
about,
important. Sorry?
yeah, so what I can understand, like knowing programming language is another thing, but knowing how to write a code, it's very much important. So first everyone should learn like how to write the code.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's another book that talks about architecture, clean architecture. It's from Uncle Bob as well. And then you can learn how to create a straightforward architecture that will meet your needs. So another book that I recommend is The Pragmatic Programmer. And also the TDD book. So I think if you read only the clean code book, and if you understand the concepts that are being explained, I think it's enough. I mean, to create a good code. Of course, after this book, you have to always be learning more, and you can also have courses. So if you find
Rafael, we lost your voice actually again. We are not able to hear you. No, no, you are not. I think something I'm able to hear.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, just no. Is it okay now?
Yeah, we can go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Just a minute. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, Rafael, I'm able to hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. So do you have any other questions?
One last question we got in chat from Ravi. So sometimes written test code from legacy code is very difficult because of the code is not testable at all. What to do then?
So I have a friend that is specialist about it. You can follow him on Twitter. You just find him. It's Scott. So he has a very nice tool that makes those untestable code possible to test. So he has, let me check here. He gave a talk in Oracle Code One about it, and let me see here. So I can share with you later. I can't find it now, but he has it's basically a tool. It's an open source project that can that you would be able to test the most bad code you ever imagined, because this tool makes can create output from every logic, and then you run this tool, and then you can change our logic.
Mhm.
You can change the code, not the logic, and then you can run this tool, and you will be sure that it will be fine. So Scott is specialist in legacy code. You can follow his content, and um, he has the knowledge of this amazing tool. I don't remind now, but I will share it later on Twitter.
Sure.
So
Rafael.
yeah. So do we have any other questions, any other challenge? That we have 10 minutes.
Yeah,
So
so I would like to utilize that 10 minutes. So personally, I would like to know some open source projects where we can contribute and we can learn by reading the code. So
oh
do you have this?
yes, there is one. There is one that I contributed by giving talks, and it's a project that went to the Jakarta EE. So I don't know if you are familiar with Jakarta. Do you know what's
Yeah,
Jakarta?
yes.
So for those that don't know what's Jakarta, it's basically the Java EE platform. So it changed the name to Jakarta.
Yeah, yes.
So Java EE platform is basically where you can use JPA, EJB, and JSF. It has loads of specifications, and then it's a very complete tool. So let me just find here the JNodeSQL website.
Okay.
So this project is maintained by my friend Otávio Santana. And you are very welcome to contribute.
Sure, Rafael, I'll do that. And I would suggest some who are the passionate and who got a time to join this webinar. So please contribute in that open source project.
Yeah, I'll just find here the link. Then I can share with you. So now it's maintained by Eclipse Foundation. So we'll share with you in the chat. So I would recommend to you, if you are starting with contributing with open source projects, don't try to start in the complex code. Instead, start maintaining the documents, And for example, you can read the documentation of the GNOSQL project. And if you see an error, if you see something there, you can do a pull request with something really simple, because once you understand the documentation, you understand the project better. And if you do pull requests with simple things, and if people get to know you, it will be easier for you to give an important pull request. So start small. Start doing pull requests for simple stuff like you can create unit tests for something. You can find bugs, and then you can write down the bugs there, and then you can create a bug on GitHub. So you can start by doing those things, because once we start doing that, you'll be well known to the project and people will trust in you. So that's important. So at first, you have to gain trust. So you're gonna gain trust by contributing with documentation, with unit tests, with simple things. So start small. So go to the jnosql.org, check out what's happening, and then start small. And that's it.
Sure. So starting is important. So main key is that we should start, and as we go ahead and we gain trust in team, so we can contribute more into that project.
Exactly. So it's like gaining the trust, and then you will be understanding the project better. Then it will be much easier for you as well.
Yeah.
So, do you have any other questions, guys? Take advantage of this time.
Yeah, I have done from my side. So, would you like to share something about your no bugs project, so that everyone should know it and get benefited by that project?
Oh yes, thank you for suggesting that. Yes, I have. Actually, it's the core article from NoBugs project. It's the top 14 reasons why developers are having bugs on their projects. So you can read the article. You can expose your opinion, and you can you can send feedbacks. You can send suggestions, whatever you want. And if you if you realize that there is another reason there for bugs, you can just share it. And so read the top 14 mistakes Java developers make that cause bugs and stress.
Great, Rafael. It's a really nice job.
Oh, thank you.
So last thing about the dev gym. So as
Yes.
we all are knowing that you are doing great job in a Oracle dev gym. So just please few words as we are running short of time. So that everyone can 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 come to know about it, and how can they get benefited by dev gym by Oracle.
Yeah. Thank you.
Rafael, you there? Hello.
Hello, guys. Hello.
Yeah, Rafael. Now we are able to hear you.
Okay. So as Vivek said, we are launching one new quiz every week, and we are exploring core concepts of Java. So we have every week it's a new subject. So if you want to understand better Java, it's really important, because once you have a better knowledge about your core language, you can develop high quality code. And also, if you want to get the certification, Java certification, I highly recommend you to do the challenge as well. So you'll be understanding better the Java language, going through core concepts, and you would be closer to get a certification because the questions are very similar to the Java certifications question. So I shared with you the link. You can just access, and Vivek is helping me to create the quizzes. And if you want to help as well, let me know. So
I'm
maybe
really thankful to Rafael that you have given me this opportunity to help. So I'm really thankful to you.
you're welcome. You're welcome, and you are helping me a lot. So I have to thank you actually.
Thank you so much.
And that's it, guys. I recommend you to stay tuned because you're gonna know what's happening in the Java community, and also you're going to understand concepts that are important for your developer journey. And yeah, keep the code on. And thank you very much for staying here in a Sunday. You are you are very admirable because it's Sunday, and who wants to work on Sunday? Who wants to um, do to get more knowledge in a Sunday? So congratulations for you that were watching, and thank you, Vivek. Do you have any final words?
Yes. So I would like to thank you so much for that you have spent your Sunday with us. So especially it's you because of you that we were able to make it possible. So it's like a privilege, and I'm feeling very much happy that I got a time to have this webinar with you. And also I would like to thank the people who has put their questions in comment box. And definitely we are going to have more sessions in future, so stay tuned with Rafael Twitter ID or mine Twitter ID. So that's all from my side, and happy weekend to all.
That's it. Thank you, Vivek, for for participating in this webinar, and I'm happy for that. And I'm happy for everyone that were here watching the webinar. And well, I hope you have a great weekend. And definitely, as Vivek said, we're gonna have more sessions. So think about your challenge, bring them to us so that we can discuss about them and discuss solutions. Because the whole goal of NoBugs Project Initiative is exactly to solve your problems. So I want you to share what are your challenges so we can discuss about them. So it's not about me, it's about you. Okay? So
Yeah.
that's it. Thank you, guys. Thank you all. And see you in our next webinar.